long before the MCU was even created, before Blade provided Marvel movies to work, before the X-Men and Spider-Man changed the game forever, there was one movie that's like a Marvel Comics Marvel movie that was a gritty R-rated vigilante film that almost nobody saw in theaters. And and that film is The Punisher, released back in 1989. And trust me, this one has a pretty bit of a wild history. What's up, guys? My name is Nate, and in this 12th episode of the Road to Avengers Doomsday, we're taking a look at the history behind 1989's The Punisher. And I'll let you know on my own personal opinions of the movie. So without further ado, let's get started. So here's the thing. During the late 1980s, Marvel was not the powerhouse that we know today. Studios weren't actually lining up to adapt comic book properties. The rights to The Punisher were picked up by New World Pictures. Yes, that exact same company that was struggling financially at the time. To helm this movie, the film is going to be directed by Mark Goldblatt, who has editing credits of films like The Terminator and Rambo First Blood Part 2. But for this movie, that was his directorial debut. And immediately there were like red flags before filming even began. The movie had a modest budget around $9 to $11 million. It leaned into the dark, gritty crime drama territory, and perhaps the most controversial thing of the entire thing, they never actually call him the Punisher. And oh, I forgot to mention, he did not have the iconic skull logo. And that decision really much divided many fans at the time when they heard about this. I mean, I wasn't around in the 1980s when this movie came out, but I can imagine how people felt. Because you can't have a Marvel movie without something fans recognize. Like, the Punisher skull logo is iconic. Like, people are like, oh, that's the Punisher right there. But when they see with the skull logo, it's like, who is this guy? And who is he supposed to represent? That's kind of how many fans were. Dolph Lundgren, playing as playing the vigilante Frank Castle. At the time, Lundgren was best known for playing Ivan Drago in Rocky IV and in the critically panned He-Man Masters of the Universe movie in the 1980s. He had the physique, he had the presence, he had the cold, imitating stare. But could he carry the look in a brooding anti-hero movie? In this version, Frank Castle is already deep in what's going on. After his family was unalive by some bosses, he lives in the sewers. He's practically mythological, whispered about criminals by some urgent legends. And honestly, Lundgren commits. He plays Castle emotionally and hollow, broken, almost ghost-like. There's very little humor and a little warmth. He's not quippy and he's not charismatic. He just has the rage and trauma. Some critics at the time called his performance wooden, but others agree it actually fits the character. This is not a talkative Punisher. This is a man who has nothing left and to accept his mission to take down as many bad guys as he can, no matter the cost. And I can pretty much feel for that. A lot of anti-heroes want to do that. And in hindsight, it works pretty better than people give credit for. So, I know what you're thinking. Nate, why was this movie so diversive? Remember I mentioned about New World Pictures a few minutes ago? Well, it was in a near financial collapse. The film never got a proper release in the United States. Let me repeat that. It did not even get a proper US release. It went to straight to video domestically. Initially, it did get a theatrical run, but by then, word of mouth was already mixed. Critics felt it was too violent, it lacked comic book flair, and felt like a generic 80s action movie than a true adaptation. And as for comic fans at the time, there were three main problems. One, there was no Skull album. Two, no overt comic book style. And three, minimal difference to a larger Marvel universe. It really was stripped away the superhero aesthetics and it lead fully as a crime thriller territory. Now here's where I defend this movie, and you could say what you want in the comments, but this is my opinion on the movie. The action in the late 80s is brutal chaos, explosions, there are fights, and a bunch of crazy stuff. It's grimy, it's sweaty, it feels dangerous. There is even a bizarre subplot involving the Japanese mafia, which makes the story feel bigger than just a street level revenge. And compared to many low budget action films at the time, it was surprisingly ambitious. Now, this movie did earn some cult following, which is a good thing. Something that interesting happened. Many fans, including myself, just started watching The Punisher. And compared to later adaptations of The Punisher starring Thomas Jane, and then Punisher Warzone with Ray Stevenson, people began to appreciate how unapologetically the 1989 version was. It wasn't trying to be slick, it wasn't trying to be stylized, it was trying to be part of a cinematic universe, but with just a brutal revenge story. In a weird way, it makes it feel ahead of its time. Long before the MCU formula, long before interconnected storyline, the movie just said, he's a broken man with a weapon, deal with it. Now here are my final thoughts of the movie. Is the movie perfect? No. Is it comic accurate? Not really. Is it a fascinating piece of Marvel history? Absolutely it is. The Punisher represents a strange era where studios didn't understand how to adapt comic books yet. They treated them like B-movie action scripts instead of mythology. But without films like this, flawed, experimental, risky, we wouldn't get to where we are today. We don't get to the MCU. We don't get to Avengers level storytelling. We don't get to crucial dominance of superhero movies. And sometimes the rougher drafts are just as much as a masterpiece. And as for Dolph Lundgren, he may not have the iconic skull logo, and then later some other actors would carry that, but he did brought the intensity. And in time, fans gave him the respect he deserved. If you guys enjoyed this deep dive, make sure you like this video, subscribe, and hit that notification bell so you don't miss out on my daily videos. And next time on the road to Avengers Doomsday, we will continue through Marvel's pre-Wild World. I'm Nate, and this has been Nate Reviews. And have a good day, and I'll see you in the next video. Bye.